eUniverse Live is brought to you by the NetFirst MasterCard. Get a MasterCard with no credit check and instant online approval. Find out more at credit.eUniverseLive.com. Hey, remember back in the 70s, there used to be some great television on in the mornings. And I was growing up in the 70s, I'm a child of the 80s, but when I was really young, 5, 6, and 7, around between 75 and 1980, I used to watch a lot of Saturday morning television because the cartoons were great, Scooby-Doo, stuff like that, and also the, the Conjunction Junction type of stuff. And then also Sid and Marty Krofft had some great shows like Puff and Snuff or Puff and Stuff. Puff and Snuff, isn't that an illegal bootleg running around the underground? Oh, never mind. But one of the shows was Electro Woman and Dyna Girl, and I actually see that Warner Brothers is bringing back the show. Deidre Hall was the original Electro Woman. Apparently the new Electro Woman's going to be Marky Post. You know Marky from her little guest appearances on Cheers back in the early 80s. And, of course, she was on Night Court for many years. And the new Dyna Girl is going to be a young lady named Ann Stedman, who I know through a mutual friend, though I've never met. So I kind of thought that was interesting. WB bringing it back probably this fall. So we can all look forward to a little more women superheroes. There's not enough women superheroes. I love Wonder Woman. I love Dyna Girl and Electro Woman, and definitely need to bring them back. Whatever happened to Linda? What was her name? What was the woman that played? I can never remember the woman that played Wonder Woman. Linda Lavin? No, that was Alice. Anyways. Okay, well, we get the show started. Hey, it's eUniverse Live for, yes, that's right, April 2nd, 2001, and it's your good friend, it's your pal, it's your compadre, it's TC, everybody. How you doing today? What's going on in the big show? We're loaded for bear once again today. Very cool guy going to be on the show. Had a wonderful time talking to him. You'll hear that in just two shakes of a monkey's bum. Lee Rocker, former bassist, the stand-up bass, the old-time bass for the Stray Cats. Remember the Stray Cats from back in the 80s? Of course, Brian Setzer on lead vocals, and then, of course, Lee playing the stand-up bass and Slim Jim on drums. Very cool band, in my humble opinion. Of course, Stray Cat Strut, and what was the other big hit they had? I can't remember. Anyways, but I loved the band. They were really cool at the time. And there's not enough music like that out there. Anyways, Lee Rocker is back with a brand new album. He's actually played with some pretty impressive people, including Carl Perkins, who the album is actually dedicated to. We'll be talking to Lee on the show today. We'll talk about his brand new album, Lee Rocker Live. And like I said, it's a very good album. It's the kind of music that doesn't get played on the radio, but it's a great kind of, if you're kind of like going to bars or you like going to clubs and like hearing really good bands live, this is definitely, the Lee Rocker Band is definitely a great band live, and it's reflected on the Lee Rocker Live CD. I wouldn't say that. In fact, if I don't like something and I'm talking to somebody, I just leave it alone. I really don't say too much about it. But I've been listening to this album, and it's a very good album. So if you get a chance, check it out at your favorite online e-tailer or in your favorite record store or at LeeRockerLive.com. That's LeeRocker.com. We'll also, Lee will also tell us a great story about George Harrison, and we'll also ask him if there's a chance that the Stray Cats will ever kind of maybe do another album and a full-blown tour. They've actually had some performances together, but it's just, Brian and Slim Jim popping up on stage with Lee at various gigs, so, I don't know. We'll see what happens. So that's all coming up, and then after we talk to Lee, we'll do our little link of the day. Tell you about the #1 movie in the country this past weekend, Dr. Laura news, and finally the Peabody Awards were given out. Quiet You. Remember the Peabody? Remember the little dog and the little boy that traveled in time, on Saturday morning television? It all comes back to Saturday morning television, I tell you. And then finally our weird story of the day about a man and his dog. Oofta. Anyways, let's get to our headlines making stories, our daily romp through the headlines in the news, and the stories that result because of them. Rap singer producer Puff Daddy was acquitted on all charges last week. Actually, Puffy is quite lucky because he was facing up to actually 20 years in prison, to which he would have been referred to as a Puff Mommy. Oh, man, that joke sucked like a Bill Clinton hoochie. Holy cow, that was terrible. All right. Daimler Chrysler is recalling the 615 Dodge Viper sports cars to fix problems with optional seatbelts for racing use. Chrysler said the recalled racing harnesses do not meet international standards for racing safety in the $70,000 cars. Chrysler said affected Viper owners will be notified by mail. All others not found by mail will be notified by way of the male pattern baldness midlife crisis internet chat room. Hey! And finally today, the federal court's decision to block thousands of songs from Napster users has resulted in a 50% decrease in music downloads. Now it looks like everyone can get back to their normal lives and start downloading porn again. All right. That's what's going on eUniverse Live today. Now let's talk to Lee Rocker. With the economy slowing down, maybe you need a little extra do-re-mi in your pocket, eh? How about a new MasterCard? Visit credit.eUniverselive.com. Got bad credit and need some help rebuilding it? Don't worry. There's no credit check. Plus, you can get instant, that's right, I said instant, online approval at credit.eUniverselive.com. Your new MasterCard is just waiting for you. Get it at credit.eUniverselive.com.
Hey, this is Brian from the Vert Pipe, and you're listening to eUniverse Live.
And the big show continues. It's Lee Rocker. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Excellent, excellent. Well, you got a new album out, huh? Lee Rocker Live.
Yes, that is out and doing a decent amount of touring coming up on the west coast of the States, and then actually off to Europe for quite a bit of time over the next 6 months. We're sort of doing more shows in Europe behind this record than in the States, at least for the initial time.
Well, that's kind of weird, isn't it?
I don't know. It's been a while. I need to get back to Europe, so I'm kind of excited about it.
Is there a lot of fans of the genre in Europe? I mean, because it seems like it would be strictly American type of music.
Well, it's a funny thing with rockabilly music, and it's really a traditional American music, like blues or jazz. And I mean, there's really for some unknown reason. I mean, we tried to figure it out with the Stray Cats, and we actually grew up in New York and all moved to London, where the Stray Cats really first took off. But like blues and jazz, there's a huge audience for rockabilly music in Europe, and it's just one of those things that have always baffled us, but it's always been there that way.
Mm-hmm. One of the things, I listened to the album, and I think it's great, yet it's one of those, it's the type of music that you're really not exposed to in the general media.
Right.
So it's basically, if you want to be exposed to that kind of music, you have to kind of seek it out.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, it's, I like to say, it's alive and well and living in the underground,
Yeah. So, the album's really good. I've been listening to it, and it's great. I love the little Eastbound and Down. I was always a fan of that song for some reason.
Well, Jimmy Reed is a hellacious guitar player. He's amazing.
Yeah. Do you think you'd ever want to see rockabilly go mainstream?
Well, I think besides, with Elvis in the late 50s, I mean, the only time it's really gone mainstream was when we were really doing the Stray Cats and
right.
And in the 80s. Sure, I would love it. And I think there's always a possibility there. I do think that a lot of the major U.S. record companies kind of don't know what to make of it. And I think it's always been that way. But I it's great, feel good, have a good time music. So I think there's always a chance of it rearing its head, from the underground and breaking through again. It's sort of, in a lot of ways, it's the original punk rock. I mean, it really shook up the world when it was, first came out in the mid '50s, and to this day, it's a lot like punk rock in the sense that it's a cult. It's everywhere in the world. There's fans and people who, dress that way and drive the cars and listen to the music, but it's not right in your face. You got to seek it out.
How would you describe rockabilly? Is it kind of like a cross between rock and roll and kind of country, or?
Yeah, I mean rockabilly really came about from. It's really the original rock and roll.
Right.
I mean, before there was rock and roll, there was R&B and there was country music, and it being really black music and white music, and Carl Perkins and Elvis Presley and Jerry Lee Lewis were the guys who really came up with it in '56 in Memphis, Tennessee, and it was combining those two things, and it was it's the original rock and roll. After that, then things changed. So it's a bastard form of music, really. It's country, but it's not, and and it's rhythm and blues, but it's not.
Mm-hmm. And now, are there a lot of stations out there that actually would play your CD, would play rockabilly music on their air? Because basically it leads to the question: is there like a single from the album?
No, it's really at this point it's not done that way. I mean,
right.
You never know. I mean, like I said, us with the Stray Cats. I mean, there were radio stations that never would have played that kind of music, and after a while they did, or they were forced to. But just because of the sales figures of it,
Right.
But no, I mean, there's college stations that'll play the hell out of it,
mm-hmm.
and there's public radio and that kind of thing. But commercial rock stations are sort of few and far between. But I don't think that comes down to the fact that it's rockabilly. I think most radio stations, most big commercial radio stations, are really sort of controlled by the industry.
Right.
And, if Warner Brothers or Interscope really want to break a record, rock stations all over the country will play it.
Right, yeah.
If it's an independent company and they don't have a relationship there, then no. But the same thing can be said for all forms of music, I think.
Comparing rockabilly to, like, today's type of really high-polished music, what's your thought on that?
Well, I think it's just, I just think it's real, music played by real people. I mean, when you do it right, there's no machines involved in it.
Right.
So I think it's just a lot of passion. I mean, that's like I was saying before. That's where it comes. The context comes in with it being in the same kind of family as jazz or blues. It's not about what amazing engineer and what microchip company came up with the newest device to make things sound a certain way. It's people just playing instruments and musicianship.
Mm-hmm. I see the new album is dedicated to Carl Perkins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Carl was an old friend of mine that got to work with a lot over the years.
Yeah, I've been looking at some of the people you've played with. That's a that's a pretty impressive list.
Yeah, I look at it once in a while and I go, geez.
Also, I hear that you have like some great stories about hanging out with him. Is there anything that comes to the top of your mind that you might want to reminisce with us?
Well, I did a TV show with Carl Perkins that was on Showtime. I don't know, 10, 12 years ago. It's called Carl Perkins and Friends, a rockabilly session, and a whole lot of people on it. Clapton was on it, and George Harrison, and Ringo Starr, and it was just an amazing list of people coming to play with Carl. And just remember, and Carl I had known previously. I was always amazed by him, and the man's a true legend. But I remember sitting outside the studio, and George Harrison walked up, and he looked through the window, and he was like, "Oh my God, it's Carl Perkins in there!" I mean, that was one of the people that really blew him away, and who knows if he would have been had that reaction, whether it had been the Queen of England,
Right.
But he was just, oh my God,
Wow, yeah, you never. I guess you never think about that people like that, legends, could be blown away by other people because obviously they had influences.
Right, and Carl was a huge influence on the Beatles.
Yeah.
On their Beatles' first record, I think they might have done 4 Carl Perkins songs.
How do you pick the songs that go on the album? Because I see that there's 10 songs on the album. It's obviously you play a lot more songs live, and how do you decide what goes on an album like Lee Rocker Live?
It's just a matter of we recorded a number of shows that we had done up in L.A. and listened through it, and it's kind of like putting a puzzle together in a way, seeing what really works well together, and what the best versions were from each night. A live record's a real different different situation than doing a studio record. And I kind of used the opportunity of doing a live record to play a lot of classic rockabilly songs. If I was in the studio doing a record in a controlled atmosphere, I would have done 15 songs that I've written.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't go in the studio and do a song that Elvis had done, because that kind of music, to me, really requires an audience, and that kind of give and take with the audience in terms of just energy and spirit and excitement. And for me, that kind of real traditional rockabilly was never meant to be played so much in a studio as with live people there looking at you, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that made it a little bit easier, like really looking at it that way.
One of the songs that actually that really caught my ear off the new album was "Love Me Good." I think that's a song that's as good as the other songs and maybe better.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm real happy with that. That's a song I had written a couple of years ago and recorded on that. And sort of just going back, you were saying, not that you hear it on the charts at the moment, but you're saying rockabilly music and commercial American radio. Probably besides the Stray Cats, the guy who has continually, more than the Stray Cats, but continually gotten large amounts of radio play and hit records has been John Fogerty. Now, they don't use the word rockabilly in describing him, but he's a straight-ahead rockabilly player. They've never really used that word to describe his music, and maybe that's a little marketing thing there in a certain sense, so it doesn't get pushed off to the side. Oh, this is that. You know what I mean?
Right.
But he's a guy who really is in that genre, in a way.
Right. I got to ask this question. You probably get asked this a million times a day. Is there any chance that we might see a Stray Cats reunion one day?
One day, yeah, I think it's very possible. I don't think it's going to be a day soon, but we're all buddies, and we had grown up together. Since we know each other since we were like little kids in grammar school, and we're still friendly. And actually, the last time we got on stage here, there was not that long ago, which was at one of my shows out in L.A., and I had a real legend out on the road with me for a while, Scotty Moore, who played on all of the original Elvis Presley recordings from the first 5 or 6 years.
Wow.
Hound Dog and Mystery Train and all of that stuff. And I'm on stage doing a gig with Scotty and my band, and I see Brian and Slim Jim in the front row. I go, wow, I said, get up here and play. So we had done that in about October. So I think there's always a possibility.
Is that the type of possibility where you record an album and then go on tour, a full-blown reunion tour?
I don't know. I think it's just,
a one-off?
I have no idea at this point. I just think that I wouldn't completely close the door on the possibility of us doing something.
Just potentially maybe a couple of shows here and there.
Mm-hmm.
And that'd be cool. That'd be a hell of a good show.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate the time, and I guess good luck with the new album. It's very good, I got to say. I was really impressed.
Thank you so much.
And there you go. Thanks for the time.
All right. I appreciate it.
Blue moon, keep shining bright. Blue moon, keep on shining bright. Bring me back to my baby tonight. Blue moon, keep shining bright. I said blue moon of Kentucky, keep on shining. Shine on the one who's got it left me blue. I said blue moon of Kentucky, keep on shining. Shine on the one who's got it left me blue.
And a big thanks goes out to Lee Rocker. Make sure you swing by and check out the official website, LeeRocker.com. And then also the brand new album, Lee Rocker Live, available at your favorite e-tailer or in your favorite record store. So make sure you check it out. It's actually a very good album, especially if you like kind of that old-time rock and roll, the Elvis, Carl Perkins type of stuff. He's true to that, and it's a great CD, and I wouldn't say that if I didn't mean it, because I've been listening to it, and it is wonderful. So there you go. Hey, speaking of links, let's get to our link of the day. Of course, tonight in Minneapolis, it all goes down. The Arizona Wildcats facing off against Duke for the national championship in basketball. Of course, since I reside here in Arizona, I should be rooting for Arizona, right? Of course, Arizona actually based out of Tucson. The university is. Arizona State is out of Tempe. in case you're curious. There you go. All right. So, yeah, I'm going to be definitely rooting for Arizona. But fun to actually go home to Minneapolis, since that's where I'm from, and see the game. But, oh well, such is life. But do I have a prediction? I know Duke is a great team. What can I say? But I'm going to be rooting for Arizona. I guess I'm gonna be a homer, and I'm going to pick Arizona by 3, though I wouldn't be surprised if Duke won. So there you go. There's my Sid Hartman comment of the day. Hey, I see that Dr. Laura has been canceled as we do a little Showbiz Blast news today. Dr. Laura, she's been on the radio for a number of years. Actually, she's gotten a lot of her popularity because she's got a deal, apparently, with her broadcast network that her show has to be before or after Rush Limbaugh's show. And obviously, Rush has a pretty good audience, to say the least. Well, Dr. Laura has obviously had some success on the radio, but her television show didn't go over so well because a lot of people were boycotting it because of things she said. I don't know what to make of that. I mean, I'm not going to get off on a political thing, but it's just sticks and stones may break your bones, but in America, words will always hurt you. I just don't understand that whole concept. Whether you're on one side of the coin or the other. What does it matter? But anyways, it's kind of hypocritical regarding both sides, I guess. No matter which side you're on, I consider both of them hypocrites. So there you go on that. Hey, Spy Kids, the #1 movie at the box office this past weekend. Robert Rodriguez, who's made some interesting movies like El Mariachi and also Dusk Till Dawn, very intense movies, has made a kids movie. And apparently everybody is raving about this thing. And Antonio Banderas stars with a couple of kids and the wife, and they're like spies, and the kids got to go rescue them. And apparently it's really good. It made $27 million at the box office. So congratulations goes out to director Robert Rodriguez on a very, very successful opening for Spy Kids. And Antonio Banderas, I know he's like a lot of the women love him, but I don't think he's ever been in a good movie. But I'm glad to see him have some success as well. Hey, speaking of success, the Peabody Awards were handed out the other night. The Peabody Awards are basically for excellence in television. Among the winners, The Sopranos, very good show. Malcolm in the Middle, yeah. And then also The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. What? I'm thinking if Jon Stewart can win a Peabody Award, I mean, how far can it? I mean, so it's just probably only a matter of a couple of years until I win one, right? Come on. Anyways, there you go. All right, finally today, let's get to our weird story. Authorities went to David Lee's home in search of drugs, then left with a videotape of Lee and his male beagle having sex together. Oh, I actually had a friend of mine who had a couple of beagles. Lightning and Thunder were the names. Lightning was one of the nicest dogs I ever met. Then there was another beagle named Corky I used to know. Biggest jerk of a dog you could ever want. Oh, I just hated that dog. A friend of mine had this dog named Corky. Just one of those dogs you just want to punch in the face because it's so mean. And I mean, how could a beagle get mean? And I mean, the same brand of dog. You got a beagle and you got a beagle. One's like the greatest dog ever, super nice, and the other one's just the biggest jerk dog. I don't understand that, but I guess that's the way with people, too. Anyways, the man has pleaded guilty to carnal knowledge with an animal and also a few drug charges. Cops found more than 81 ounces of marijuana and 9.5 grams of crack cocaine at the home, along with the nasty video. I mean, it just boggles the mind how weird some people are, And not only are you going to actually engage in that type of act, but I think I'll videotape it too, so I can have fond memories of it. Oh my God. Oh, there you go. Bringing you the weird story of the day, sponsored by, I don't know, monkeys.com. Coming up on the show tomorrow, it's Big Music Tuesday. Tell you all about kind of an interesting weekend I had. Actually went and saw the George Strait Music Festival down in Phoenix. It was actually a pretty good show. I'm not a fan of country music. We went for because we had some media passes. and it's going to actually be a feature on the new site if it ever launches. And then also we had a nice little photo pass and took a bunch of great shots of some of the bands like Alan Jackson, George Strait, Lone Star, Leanne Womack. So you can look for those coming soon right there on the Juggernaut of Love. On Wednesday's show, Interactive Entertainment. Hopefully we'll be able to talk now a little bit about a great new site called eUniverse Games. It's the brand new official eUniverse Games. For so long, they've been the Gamers Alliance type of sites regarding eUniverse. Now it's official. eUniverse Games. Swing by, check it out. We'll try to talk about that a little more. And then on Thursday, Semisonic, the band Semisonic. Remember the hit Closing Time? They're back with a brand new song called Chemistry, and the album is all about chemistry. So not too shabby, right? And then Friday, Movies with Ollie. In the future weeks, hopefully, good Lord, Jamie Lee Curtis, maybe even Richard Lewis. That'd be fun. Bon Jovi, Gina Lee Nolan, Stevie Nicks on my birthday, I hope. That would be fabulous. Bette Midler, Static X, Living End, and some legends in British music. Depeche Mode. Interesting, very interesting. All right, that's the big show in the book for April 2nd, 2001. Have yourself a wonderful night. Go Wildcats, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Sign up at showbizblast.com to get eUniverse Live delivered to your mailbox each and every weekday. If you have comments, questions, or suggestions, email us at feedback@eUniverselive.com. Any reproduction or rebroadcast of this program without the prior written consent of eUniverse is strictly prohibited. eUniverse Live is a production of the eUniverse Network.
You haven't lost your touch.